God promises to answer his people's prayers that are offered according to his will. 1 John 5:14, for example. This truth must apply to the prayer in Psalm 83 and to all prayers asking God for justice. In other words, Asaph in Psalm 83 can be bold, calling for God to act. He says this, "Do not keep silence, do not hold your peace or be still," verse 1, because he knew that God wills to protect his people. It's a prayer according to God's will. Those who hate God, as they're described in verse 2, made a covenant to wipe out the nation of Israel, verses 4 and 5. Their plan is the genocide of God's special people, but this could not be. God had not yet fulfilled his promise for the Messiah's light to shine out of Israel. Isaiah 9, verse 2, for example. The seed of the woman had not yet been revealed. And so Asaph can pray for God-haters to become like all those who try to cut short God's promises. He can pray that they would become like whirling dust and blowing chaff, like the result of a raging forest fire and a destroying hurricane, verses 8 through 12, because he knew that it was God's will, as God had told Abraham himself in Genesis 12, verse 3, that I will curse all those who dishonor you. And so it's right for us to apply prayers like this to the enemies of the church today, because Jesus makes the same kind of promises in the New Testament. He promises that the gates of hell shall not prevail against her, Matthew 16:18. And so we may pray for the downfall of any person or any movement that tries to prevail against the church. After all, why should we be less passionate and less prayerful than those who have come before us for the church's victory? But we mustn't miss the purpose of Asaph's prayer. 3 times he asks God to make his enemies ashamed of their attempts to sabotage his plans, verses 16 and 17. Asaph prays for the truth of God's good purposes for the church to break into his enemies' consciousness. More than that, flushed with shame, God's enemies should seek his name, verse 16, and know, as verse 18 says, that you alone, whose name is the Lord, are the most high over all the earth. So our heart for God's enemies should mirror his heart. Imprecatory prayers are also intercessory prayers. The alternative, after all, to heeding Jesus' kind invitation to come to him, as he puts it in Matthew 11, 28 through 30, is to one day find yourself under his heel, as Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 15, 25. We then should want all people, as Psalm 2 says, to serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling, lest the sun's wrath be kindled against them. Let's listen to Psalm 83. A song, a psalm of Asaph. O God, do not keep silence. Do not hold your peace or be still, O God. For behold, your enemies make an uproar. Those who hate you have raised their heads. They lay crafty plans against your treasured ones, against your people, rather. They consult together against your treasured ones. They say, come, let us wipe them out as a nation. Let the name of Israel be remembered no more. For they conspire with one accord. Against you they make a covenant, the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab and the Hagrites, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, Philistia with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur has also joined them. They are the strong arm of the children of Lot, Selah. Do to them as you did to Midian, as to Sisera and Jabin at the river Kishon, who were destroyed at Endor, who became dung for the ground. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeb, all their princes like Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, let us take possession for ourselves of the pastures of God. O my God, make them like whirling dust, like chaff before the wind, as fire consumes the forest, as the flame sets the mountains ablaze, so may you pursue them with your tempest and terrify them with your hurricane. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek your name, O Lord. Let them be put to shame and dismayed forever. Let them perish in disgrace, that they may know that you alone, whose name is the Lord, are the most high over all the earth.